The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor,
Good morning, Bitcoiners.
Josh Igala from the Standard.io,
Oh, hello, 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 hello.
Ben Ark from LN Bits,
Hello.
and I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue one. Issue one. Nearly all short-term Bitcoin owners are underwater, making rallies harder. The real problem is the current fragile market setup for Bitcoin because the short-term holders are underwater in both price and narrative. Josh, Dan, Eve, what does it feel like to be underwater with price and narrative?
Well, I mean, obviously, the short termers seem to be the most, likely to succumb to selling. Right? They buy in. They especially when it's a sort of kind of bear market, it's a bit kind of choppy. They buy in. They see the price drop 10-20%. They start to freak out. They then sell out and then end up regretting it, obviously, because if they were to hold on, as we've covered before, like 4 years, you just hold on 4 years and you're almost guaranteed based on previous data. So it's just that having that ability to have diamond hands, just keep steady. Now the thing is with I mean, this article mentions about how the more coins held in short term are flowing back onto exchanges. Which is interesting because it's they're classing these short term that are flowing back onto exchanges as being held by personal wallets, and you'd think that people that held personal wallets of Bitcoin are less likely to be kind of newbie. They know the importance of holding your own private keys and owning your own Bitcoin and not being on an exchange. So maybe the flow of this is actually for people to try and trade more around trading, not just trying to sell off and freak out because they're selling, but maybe they think they're actually, they'd be better at buying and selling Bitcoin whilst it's quite turbulent, because these swings, you can end up with more Bitcoin. If you sell it and it drops another 10%, you can buy back, So maybe they're just kind of going through that adventurous stage that we all went to when, you would try and day trade Bitcoin and then end up completely miserable. Or it could also be the fact that they are wanting to give their Bitcoin or use their Bitcoin for loans, right? So that some other people on the exchanges can use, leverage Bitcoin trading. And also I think it was a real email. I'm not sure why, but there was Polo trying to tell people that you can get a Bitcoin yield now. Which means, where is, again, we go back to this, where's the yield coming from? Like, where's that yield coming and where's the Bitcoin going? Whilst these kind of lovely gains, I think they're offering 100% APY on Bitcoin, which is something's got to be a bit odd about that. I mean, I checked the address and it seemed like it was Polo. But you've got to be very careful, right? It's very easy to get caught up when the price is fluctuating. It's easy to get caught up and just either sell or kind of think, oh, I need to make my money back by lending it out, or I need to make my money back by leveraging it, when really you just got to hold tight and let Bitcoin do its thing and hedge it, against inflation, because that's what it's built for. But sad that the news get caught out, I think.
I once knew a woman who was going to double our coins by November, so we can't give that up. Josh Chagala, what do you think? The noobs are moving their coins back on exchanges. The market's not really over until they get fleeced, right?
Well, these sorts of statistics I always find a bit interesting because Bitcoin is a thing where you can kind of tell what's going on, but you are kind of guessing. That's why it's pseudonymous. It's got this abstraction with these return addresses and stuff. So these change addresses. So I don't really fully buy all of these sorts of headlines. I think people are looking for news headlines that they can try to make a story. It's all, I don't know. Like, sure, if people are underwater, but maybe they've been buying in that's a good strategy. Like, all right, I've been buying in slowly, DCAing in, and now I'm ready for the bull market. So I don't really pay too much attention to this stuff. If it does go lower, hey, just keep DCAing in, dollar cost averaging for those noobs out there. Yeah, not
Well,
too
and obviously at home, we're all waiting for you to sell. Once you sell, that'll get rid of all the paranoia in the market. Everything will go right back up. But we're
That's right.
waiting for you to sell.
You're the one that turns the market.
That's right. If you don't give up, it won't go back up. Ben Ark, why won't it go back up? If these people sell, is this enough?
I think it's just summer dumping, man. Like, people have expenditures in the summer and they're just selling a few bits. And, when we have a price drop like this, it's because of that small slither of traders. There's not enough buyers for the sellers, but Bitcoin's mostly like diamond-handed hodler types now. There's this like slither of maybe newbie coins. Maybe it's from the ordinal things. Maybe people bought Bitcoin for the ordinals, and now they're worried about ordinals and they're dumping their bits because they got to pay for their summer holidays. But yeah, there's kind of some FUD out there at the moment in Bitcoin over scaling, because again, we're at the point where we've got full blocks from ordinals. So, and I think that's kind of worrying a few people. It's that classic, sausage being made in public. Like, we're getting to see all the ugly parts of debates over Bitcoin, which I think within the social networks is making people a little bit. We've seen it before. People who've been around here, we've seen all this before, and we know that Bitcoin comes out stronger for it. But for those new to Bitcoin, I could imagine them thinking, "Oh, crikey, I'm worried about Bitcoin's ability to scale, and I've got some overheads because it's the summer, so I'm going to dump my coins, and maybe looks like the ordinal thing isn't going to take off because there's been some slowdown in the adoption of that." So yeah, it's a blip. It's a blip. I'm very, very, very bullish on Bitcoin currently, and I think that the rest of this year is going to be very good for Bitcoin. But for now, we've got this little blip where the price has dropped a little bit just because of that thin slither of weak-handed fools.
I do think you're onto something there, Ben, with your logical thinking, the way you tied it together, the low summer volumes, my fear over losing so much and then losing 10% more, and the reality that we all know it can't go up until you panic sell. So we're still waiting for you out there. Take care of that one last panic sell. As Ben said, we need to move on quickly to issue 2. Bitcoin Ordinals trading is down bad, but just how bad? And it says here that Bitcoin Ordinal sales volumes have dropped 97% from May to August. They have declining interest in the wider NFT space, with volume dropping from Ethereum and Polygon from 22% and 60% respectively. Josh Shigala, what do you think about Bitcoin Ordinals?
I mean, 97%, it's insane. These are the sorts of numbers that show you that it's a hype cycle, and also quite manipulated as well. They thought NFTs, they went so nuts on Ethereum. Hey, they have to go just as nuts on Bitcoin, and everything's going to Bitcoin. But it's unfortunately not the case. Of course, there's hype. There needs to be actual use cases for NFTs. The major use case is, of course, collectibles, and that's a great use case. It's interesting, but I think it's oversaturated. It's such fast food now. People just making fast food NFTs. There is so many scams in NFTs. It's unbelievable. When I say scams, I mean just I put a tweet out there. By the way, folks, it's at J Shigala. Check it out in my name. It's right down the bottom there. But I put a tweet out there, and I'll get like maybe 1 real engagement and 3 fake airdrop posts under each freaking tweet. It's unbelievable. And so I just don't trust anything that comes out of the NFT space now. It's just too much rubbish. And I just don't know how to tell it apart. Like, at least with a crypto project, like some shitcoin, you can look at the GitHub, you can look at the concept, you can say, oh, I see what they're doing. They're doing like ticket sales and whatever it is, right? And you can look at the GitHub, see if there's actual people building this thing, see how many commits are happening. With NFTs, it's like, I don't know, it's just a picture of some weird, I don't know, person with funny sunnies and different styles of sunnies, 1,000 different styles of sunnies. Huh? I don't know. I don't get it. And of course it's going to drop 97% because it's rubbish. It's absolute filth. Has nothing. It's just rubbish. So I'm quite bullish about NFTs in general as a concept. For instance, in the standard.io, you can sell your smart vaults as an NFT, dynamic NFT. It pulls data from the blockchain, displays it in the NFT, it shows you exactly how much debt you've got and how much collateral is locked in that. And then when you sell it, the owner then now owns that NFT, but also owns your smart vault with the collateral and the debt. So you can pay off that debt and take out the collateral. Like stuff like that for me is interesting. Yeah, I can tell art is interesting for many people, but I think it's mainly interesting because of the pump and dumps. And I think there's a very orchestrated mafia behind all of this too. And not just one, but many, all trying to basically pump fake artists up to launder money and stuff. So yeah, it's no surprise to me, but I do think there is definite use cases for NFTs.
Ben Ark, you said that ordinals were filling up the blocks. How does that work?
Because you have to do transactions. So, oh crikey, don't get me get into the technicals of how ordinals work. But it's it requires some block space, and still at this point now, like more than 50% of the transactions on Bitcoin are currently ordinals. So it's still doing relatively well. There is actually a good statistic website. If you let me share the screen, I can show the website on their ordinal analysis. I don't know where I sit with the ordinal stuff. I really don't. But yeah, if you go to June.com, you can there's some statistics over ordinals and the amount of fees. So you've got a couple of thousand Bitcoin in fees to inscribe these ordinals, which is a lot of money. And then if we look at some of these charts, it doesn't look like usage is that down. I mean, I think NFTs in general, like, there's less. It's the environment's weaker than it used to be. But no, it's a friend of mine, Light Rider, passed these on to me. He's made Ordimint, which is somewhere where people go to mint ordinals. And he sent me this site here. And when I look at these metrics, it doesn't look like it still looks like it's a growing ecosystem. The only ordinals which I really care about is the 600 billion collective. This is a friend of mine met Satoshi, and he asked him how much he thought Bitcoins would be worth eventually, and Satoshi said 600 billion a Bitcoin. So these are beautiful pieces of art which they've spent a lot of time developing. Each one of these ordinals will one day be worth a hell of a lot of money. Yeah, but the 600 billion collective, if you see 600 billion stickers about on your travels, it's because people are propagating Satoshi's prophecy that in fact Bitcoin, one Bitcoin will be worth $600 billion. Okay, so remember that.
Did you say he met Satoshi? Sorry.
What? Yeah, he met Satoshi. Yeah, and he asked him.
As in Dorian. Or...
No, he met Satoshi, the real Satoshi. Yeah, an older guy, but he met him on his travels, and when he asked him, he had this very deep conversation about Bitcoin, and he didn't say it was Satoshi. But this guy was very well informed, very old, clearly an old school cryptographer. And my friend was like, this guy's totally Satoshi. And after speaking to him for about 5 hours, he got onto the subject of how much he thought, just as fun, So where do you think the Bitcoin price will end up? And then Satoshi looked him dead in the eye and said, very seriously, 600 billion a Bitcoin. And then my friend was like, 600 billion? And then it broke my friend's brain. So he's made this whole movement of ordinals for 600 billion, which I really like.
I love that.
Was
It's
this?
such a ridiculous amount. It's like someone says, "Oh, 2 million a Bitcoin, 10 million a Bitcoin, 600."
Well, it's
billion.
hyperinflationary amounts, right? That's
Josh gets it. What's the dollar worth when that happens?
Yeah. Well, but surely there was if he thinks he's Satoshi, then there would be other interesting things that the guy would have said. 5 hours of conversation. Come on, there's got to be some beans to spill.
Well, this was the juicy bit at the end, which he came away with. He wouldn't tell me the rest of the conversation, but anyway.
Yeah.
5 hours of conversation, and all he asked him was the price. That's okay. He asked him what was important. Dan, what do you think about Ordinals? The blockchain data could be cut off if you run a smaller node. The information would be separate. If you trade the Ordinal from one account to the other, I'm not sure that you get the same Ordinal or the same Satoshi. Meanwhile, Bitcoin stamps actually publish their data into the Bitcoin blockchain. Dan, do you like stamps, Ordinals, other NFTs on Bitcoin, liquid sidechains? Who knows?
I haven't really dabbled, but for this report stirred up quite a bit of drama, right? Because you've got that radar. You'd assume, their own slogan is discover, track, and trade everything DeFi, NFT, and gaming. So you'd think that if anything, they would have a bias towards making the Ordinals and NFTs and stuff look good. But this obviously, this kicked a bit of a hornet's nest with people getting angry, saying, well, it wasn't a 97% drop because actually the volume was 170 million down to 35 million instead of 490 million down to 35 million, or so there was people arguing the toss either way of what stats should be used. It does seem that they got accused of, in the article, of cherry picking the data a bit, perhaps saying, well, you're using 2 weeks of August data and picking a specific 2 weeks for the whole of May when there was an absolute Ordinals boom. So for me, the thing that's more important is not that I have any Ordinals, but would be actually the number of trades, right? Because all these articles talk about, and everyone's discussing the volume, the financial volume. But going back to the old Metcalfe's law, what gives a network value is the amount of participants and users, and it doesn't actually go into detail as to the amount of trades that were done, then compared to now. Because fair enough, NFTs, Bitcoin goes through peaks and troughs, and it went from $22 down to $3, and then $20,000 down to $3, and $3,000. Then it obviously has peaks and troughs, 67 down to 16. And so the volumes will change very significantly. But again, as we keep on saying in Bitcoin, what happens is that all these things keep on happening. 5 years on, and BlackRock are now applying for an ETF, and Fidelity, and there's spot ETFs everywhere. You get a spot ETF, and you get a spot ETF. Eventually, it'll be like that, maybe. But the other thing is that the word, the death of Ordinals and things like that, I always take with a pinch of salt, because unfortunately, it started off with Bitcoin. There was the Bitcoin obituary, and everyone's saying, "Oh, Bitcoin's dead, Bitcoin's dead." And every now and then, even like my mum will phone me and go, and if prices drop like 5%, she'll be like, "Are you okay, Dan? Is Bitcoin dead again?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's dead. Yeah, it's dead again, Mum. Dead again. Poor old Bitcoin. Oh, dead. Oh, geez, that sort of thing." But they say, Ethereum's going to die. That's now what, 7, 8 years old, right? Must be getting on. Must be clocking on now. Or 6, I don't know, whatever. It's a long time, 6 years old, something like that. There's Dogecoin, that's going to die soon. That's still definitely not dead by the looks of it. So there's all these obituaries that keep on getting handed out, but the communities are the things that keep them going. And whilst there's been thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of shitcoins and projects that have completely failed, I think NFTs have got and specifically not specifically, but and Ordinals as well, have got a particularly good chance of surviving. And Ordinals, because one of the things that I liked about Bitcoin back in the day was the fact that you could timestamp something, you could immortalize it on the Bitcoin blockchain. You can put data up on Google and it can be removed. You can put it up, even the way back when machine will remove the information, but based on whatever sort of legal request comes to them. But you can't remove Bitcoin data from the Bitcoin blockchain. And that's where I think it differs a lot, obviously, from NFTs, where you don't own, the NFT is not inscribed into Ethereum. You have it's referenced by it, for example. So I think Ordinals have got kind of a bit of an upper hand there with immortalizing the data. But then that the swinger of that is that that bad data can be put on there, and then bad things happen because of bad data, and Chicken Lick in the sky falling, and BBC articles saying that all sorts of naughty things are going to be put on there. So we're going to probably see that cycle again, I think, soon. But I don't think NFTs are dead. I don't think DeFi's dead, or gaming, whatever, or Ordinals, all of these things, they're just going for a market dip and a bit of a consolidation, and then back when Bitcoin the hype comes with the halving, everything else is going to follow it again, and all these people are going to do the same old crazy thing, go, I missed out on the Bitcoin, I've got to get myself an Ordinal, and they'll get an Ordinal, they get something else, or I'm going to get myself some shitcoin, and then they miss the Bitcoin going up because they bought shitcoin. So just don't buy shitcoins, basically. Sorry, that's
I agree, Dan. I think they've been too hard on Ordinals. It's easy to kick them when they're down, and I don't think Ordinals or NFTs are done yet. Not by a long shot.
The actual statistic which the article seemed to settle on when it did its own. I mean, congrats to the journalists as well. They didn't just listen to the 92% claim. They looked at their own metrics, and I think they settled around 65% drop, which kind of makes sense when you have like this crazy hype of Ordinals being inscribed and lots of people buying them. 65% is not too bad, considering Ordinals have been around for a couple of months now.
Not too bad. Moving on, check out worldcryptonetwork.com. We've got 3,069 videos. You could watch them for 3 months, 16 days, 15 hours straight, and still have more to watch. Issue 3, is Binance using the Bitcoin Lightning Network? No new channels for 30 days. Ben Ark, is the Bitcoin Lightning Network in trouble?
I mean, they got 34 Bitcoin on their node, so that's a lot of channel liquidity. I'm not sure how many people are sending Bitcoin back and forth via Lightning Network to Binance. I know with Kraken, I mean, it's a much smaller amount than people doing on-chain stuff. So it's just a case of their users, Binance users, if they don't need to open channels, if they're able to manage their channel liquidity, then they don't need to open any new channels. They've got a lot of Bitcoin on there. They've got some big, fat, healthy channels already. So I can't really see how much of a story this is. Like, yeah, people aren't sending tons of money into Binance via Lightning. But there's lots of interesting ways in which you can rebalance channels without having to open new channels now. So, you can loop out to on-chain. So if you have lots of Bitcoin coming in and then you loop out to on-chain, then you balance your channels. So it's not a case of just having to open channels constantly. You shouldn't have to open channels constantly if you've got a good, healthy node with lots of Bitcoin on. So I'm not entirely sure on exactly how much money is flowed into Binance via Lightning, but it could still be a considerable amount of money without having to open new channels. And I would assume as an exchange that they've looked into managing their node properly, and they've put in some cool loop out features into their node to help balance the channels.
Dan Eve, now Ben Ark says you're not spending enough money on coffee. What's going on with the Lightning Network?
Well, so I first I read this and I thought, well, it's really bad. Like 30 days, that's pretty terrible. But then I did notice the date on that article was the 16th of August. So a little update actually. So I did some digging, and so 5 days ago it went from 6 channels. So this was 3 days after the article. So it went from 6 channels to 12 channels in 24 hours. This is by the same analyst Amboss who we got the information from in that Amboss space, that in that other article. So who gave the evaluation that it's not moving, or at least that their information was used to determine that it's not moving. So that was, but it went up to 46 Bitcoin. Then shortly after that, it went to 22 channels. So like it over tripled in the space of a couple of days, and 64 Bitcoin. And now, according to recent analysis from Amboss Tech, they're actually now the fastest, growing at the fastest pace of all major exchanges, and they've just reached about half OKX's volume, and they rank number 14 out of over 16,000 nodes. So it seems like it was a bit of a slow start, but they are starting to kind of pump the channels a bit, pump the volume. It'd be good to see. Well, I say pump the volume, maybe not. That's not an accusation that they're doing it artificially. I don't know. So I'm definitely not saying that. But no, it seems like it's slowly growing, right? It was slow to start, and it does actually seem like there's some growth there, which is good. Ranked 14 out of 16,000 nodes, that's not too bad. And liquidity in there is growing quite fast. It's nowhere near kind of Kraken and Bitfinex, but they do have from reading up, they have a 10 Bitcoin channel with Bitfinex. It's just one of one of the channels. So they are expanding. They've just done it really slowly. What I didn't have a chance to check into, which would have been interesting, is I don't know if Coinbase actually integrated Lightning yet, or did they just announce it and go, oh, it's not trivial though, it's going to take us a while. I think they announced it, right, but they haven't actually done it yet. So
I think they generally announce things, yeah.
The announcement of the announcement of the announcement sort of thing, but then they eventually do it. Be cool to see Binance actually publish some transactions, right? We often say that Binance kind of turned their back on Bitcoin; they're a bit of a shitcoin casino. So it'd be good for them to celebrate it a bit more, the integration with and try and please some of the Bitcoiners that they may have cheesed off in the past, and kind of show that they support Bitcoin. But obviously there's the other controversy at the moment, right, that word on the street is that Binance is selling off like loads of Bitcoin in order to hold the price floor of $212 or $200, whatever it is. So CZ's under a lot of fire at the moment, and a lot of speculation as to why the BNB price is actually holding up pretty well compared to some of the other cryptos, and it's because he's basically selling off he's apparently selling off everyone's Bitcoin for BNB in order to kind of float the price. So I'd say do something good for the Bitcoin community, and start shouting about how much you're digging into Lightning, and maybe even publish some volumes on it, right? Maybe not the inflows, but just something like, well, that would be cool, right? Say, hey, so many X number of people have deposited Lightning on Binance so far. Get involved and use Lightning and all that shenanigans.
Josh Shigala, as Yogi Berra said, the Lightning Network is too crowded. No one goes there anymore. Should we switch to drive shafts? Would that be better?
It would probably be better. No, the Lightning Network's super healthy. We've got 4,675 Bitcoin locked up on the Lightning Network, $121 million or thereabouts, and it's one of these things that had so much. It's a technology that had so much FUD around it in the beginning because of the block wars, that it's just taking time for people to realize how brilliant it is. And that's very unfortunate, but maybe it's fortunate. Maybe it's a way for it to scale slowly and people to find better ways of doing things. And in this time that it's taken to grow, like Ben said, now there's all these new ways of balancing channels, and all of this stuff is obfuscated away so that it's easier for the end user rather than something really complex. We ran the biggest node there for a while when we were the first exchange to launch the Lightning Network, and it was super difficult. Like, it was the most difficult because there was just no infrastructure. Now, through all this amazing work that Ben Ark's doing through LM Bits and a lot of other teams around the world, it's just become so easy to spin up a node and accept Lightning payments, and it's one of these technologies that you really just need to try. And I've done this before with people that have just poo-pooed it like crazy, and they're so stuck in their like derangement syndrome about the Lightning Network that when you actually use it, you say, oh, here, I'll send you one, and they get coins instantly, and you say, how many confirmations that's got 128 confirmations already, and you just got it, and it sort of sets off this aha moment for them, and that's backed up by them being on Ethereum and all these other who have totally not thought about L2s. They're like, oh great, we need L2s, we need more L2s. And they, Ethereum, they love their L2s and no one fights about it. And they all work together, and it's great. So when people see that, and then they get that aha moment of how quick a transaction is, plus it's got thousands of confirmations, blocks deep of security, it sort of sets off that aha moment, and that aha moment takes time. And I think what we're waiting now is the perfect storm for Lightning Network, which is Bitcoin starting to take off in price, getting to the crypto summer. As we get into crypto spring, I know that that's not feeling like that at the moment, as we're having this little bit of a downturn, but as we head into crypto spring, people will start jumping on to the Lightning Network, especially if blocks are starting to fill up. They just want to make one transaction and then have plenty of cheaper transactions. And yeah, I'm really bullish on the Lightning Network. It's just getting better and better by the day, and it's something you need to experience to understand.
Ben Ark, what about drive chains? Does drive chains have better technology?
It's not so much that, it's more that like if you want Bitcoin to scale, Lightning is great. I mean, obviously payment channels is the solution for microtransactions and sending basically an infinite amount of transactions through the payments network. There was all these, like everything, like it's slow to develop if there's not a necessity there. And as it was, like ideas like channel factories and being able to easily and cheaply spin up channels wasn't really an issue when Bitcoin blocks weren't that full. But now they are full from these ordinals. Then there's more emphasis on using Lightning, which I think is why a lot of these exchanges have started adopting Lightning. And I imagine that Binance as well, when they first rolled it out, like with Kraken, it was kind of fiddly to do a Lightning transaction. You had to verify via email. You had to give them a Lightning address and verify via email that you wanted them to send money to the Lightning address. And it's kind of clunky. But clearly, Binance see value in if they're going to commit that many Bitcoins to their hot wallet, which a Lightning node is. When it comes to drive chains, and the BIP300, I think it is really important for, if you want the whole world running on Bitcoin, which I personally do, and I want people to do whatever they want on Bitcoin, and for the whole world's economic infrastructure to be built on top of Bitcoin and have the same security properties of Bitcoin, to be secured by the miners, and to also have that 21 million cap, then you're going to need something like BIP300. You're going to need drive chains. And if you want to scale Lightning, so that Lightning's biggest issue is that on Bitcoin, only so many people can open channels, because Bitcoin has a on-chain, it has a capacity limit. And currently there aren't things like channel factories on there. And in order to make that a reality, it might require a hard fork, which really wants. So maybe I was tweeting about this earlier today, actually. Maybe with BIP300, you could have like the ultimate underlayer, beneath layer for something like Lightning, which has that stuff kind of built in specifically so people can easily set up payment channels, because payment channels, that's the answer, right? And then that could just be powered and be secured by Bitcoin, which is what the drive chain solution offers. So it's not a case of like you can't use Lightning, now we need drive chains. It's a case of drive chains would probably be a very good way to make Lightning available to the whole world, like to all 8 billion people, whatever it is now, the population of the planet, I don't know, 9 billion, where are we at? Then maybe and also for all the other funky things they want to do on these cryptocurrencies.
As you can see, Ben violated the rules. No good news this week. Ben provided good news. Moving on to the next issue, issue 4. Bitcoin and Ethereum trade below the maximum pain levels ahead of the $2.7 billion options settlement. Dan, Eve, we're experiencing maximum pain, according to this article. What do you think about the markets lately?
Oh, we haven't even seen pain yet. Jeez, it only went from like 67 down to 16, and you know we're obviously at like 26 or something now. So, you know, pain levels are 16 and lower. You know, pain. Those were certainly the pain levels for Sailor. You know, at least the public figures, right? Sailor and El Salvador, which we said last week, they managed to pay off their loan, and they're laughing right now, which is great. But yeah, pain levels, you know, 26K. I mean, the craziness of the idea, right? That $26,000 Bitcoin is like maximum pain level. Isn't that just insane? You know, you think how far it's come. And you know, years ago, people prophesized that, you know, they're like, oh, Bitcoin swung, you know, $20 in one day. Wow, that's like 60% or whatever. And then like, so, you know, some crazy people were saying one day it will swing $1,000 or two in one day. And you know, it's going to keep on going like that. The scales will keep on getting bigger. So whilst it's the maximum pain level now, there's obviously a lot of people that are kind of doing okay out of it from the analysis about Deribit's settlements, options settlements. So, you know, it's pain levels for some people. One person's trash is another person's treasure. One person's loss is another person's gain, and all that. You know, yin yang, ting tong, ping pong, sing song. All of those are different opposing things. But anyway, yeah, you know, 26K is still just crazy just thinking about it. So if you are going to get in now, as we said earlier, just try and hold. Don't succumb to the craziness of the price fluctuations and sell out now. And just don't ever be in a position. And the reason you shouldn't ever, one good thing that, you know, people always say is, you know, don't put in more than you can afford to lose. And that rings true in two ways. And number one, if you lose it all, then you're going to be devastated, right? Because it's more than you could afford to lose. But also, if it's not more than you could afford to lose, and you don't need to sell it during a low period, then you won't be kicking yourself when it goes absolutely screaming towards and beyond 100K and all these other crazy prices. $600 billion. Was it 6 billion or 600 billion? $600 billion. So yeah, keep calm, keep cool, and keep DCAing.
Josh Shigala, we're in maximum pain. They say the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum went down about 10%, and they're calling this a crash. 10%. But Josh is muted.
It's a crash on the legacy markets for sure, but it's not in this space. And it's one of these sort of, you know, these rites of passage in Bitcoin. You need to actually experience a 10% drop in a day to be like, all right, now I'm a true Bitcoiner. Hodl, hodl, hodl. Yeah.
I do think you're right, Josh. You're not a true Bitcoiner until you've experienced a 10% drop. Ben, are you back with us? Ben's still working on his computer, but we do have word that you guys will now predict against the online Magic 8-Ball, the new source of all truth. Dan, Eve, will the price of Bitcoin be higher or lower this time next week?
Well, I'm hoping to increase my losing streak of being wrong. So I'm going to continue saying, I'm going to continue saying down, because then it will go up and I'll be wrong, but still happy.
Josh Shigala, I think it did go up slightly from last week, Dan. We were both positive or negative on that, I forget. Josh, higher or lower?
It's if all my triangles and circles are correct, it's going lower.
And now to ask the real source of all truth, will the Bitcoin price be higher? We asked the Magic 8-Ball, and it says it is certain. It is certain. The ball is optimistic.
Wow.
Moving on to issue 5, I think it is. Bitcoin halving can take the Bitcoin price to 148K by July 2025, says Pantera Capital. Dan, Eve, what do you think about Pantera's incredible prediction that the Bitcoin price, which now everyone knows is horrible, yet the Magic 8 Ball predicts that it's certain to go up, is now being said to be perhaps $148,000 by July 2025.
Well, I think all predictions pale in insignificance compared to this new $600 billion, theory, which obviously would be absolutely lovely, right? $600 billion. So
it wouldn't be. It would be absolutely disastrous. It would be absolute disaster. If that was the case, the whole world's monetary system is screwed, and we're all drinking muddy water.
Yeah, no, because you're right. Because really,
we'd have the cool stickers, right?
We'd have the cool stickers. Yeah.
The sad thing, you're right, though, is because that would, if it's $600 billion, that's going to be because of hyperinflation. Yeah, that'd be at the point where an Apple is $1 million. What Apple? $1 million. So that's going to be a sad state. But well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I mean, 148,000. I used to get excited by something like that, but now $600 billion is just, it's all I can think about. I've got
148K isn't too bad. Kind of rolls off the old tongue, has a nice round number feeling to it.
I love it. I love how they just pull these numbers out of their woozle, and just Cointelegraph just runs with it. And the funny thing is, they take the number from a company that's highly invested in Bitcoin going up. That's their whole shtick, is investing in Bitcoin companies. So, like, can you take a number from maybe a partisan, someone that's just looking at data? No, we have to ask the people that are heavily invested in Bitcoin to show their price prediction. It's just such dumb.
Yeah,
and ARK, the price prediction comes from their insider blockchain letter that the executives at the crypto asset manager doubled down on their bullish BTC forecasts.
I mean, as we saw before, it's not particularly that bullish, is it? But I think are we still not aiming for 240K? I thought that's where we're aiming for the next 12 months. So
100K, isn't the laser eyes 100K?
Yeah. I mean,
don't move these.
Yeah, but I think Bitcoin is 10x before, and there's a lot of traction on Bitcoin, and there's a lot of interest in Bitcoin. Got a lot of new talent with the Nostar stuff and all these apps, and people building services around that. And I'm extremely bullish on Bitcoin, and I think that 240K is perfectly plausible. It's done similar increases in price before in the past, and 140K is a little bit short, really.
We do have an update from the article. Remember, these are investment professionals here at Pantera. The next halving is expected to occur on April 20th, 2024. Since most Bitcoins are now in circulation, each halving will be almost exactly half as big as a reduction in new supply. If history were to repeat itself, the next halving would see Bitcoin rising to 35K before the halving and $148,000 after. That sounds pretty good to me.
Just to put this into context, though, this pithy 148,000 is a mere 0.00246% of 600 billion.
Exactly. That's what we're aiming for, guys. Right. 600 billion.
It really is kind of a nothing prediction when you put it into the category of the 600 billion.
Yeah, it's a weak prediction.
Weak prediction. Moving on, we're reversing the bad news trend, obviously, with that article. We have one more. Let's see. Zoom says it's going to crash instead. Let's see. Can we have one more screen share, Zoom? All right, here we go. Lawyer, SBF is living on bread, water, and peanut butter. Sam Bankman-Fried is having trouble getting his antidepressants in prison. He's also not been supplied with vegan food, so he's living on bread, water, and peanut butter. Dan, Eve, what do you think about our friend Sam Bankman-Fried and his horrible news situation in prison?
Well, I mean, surely there's more stuff that could be considered vegan in a prison than bread, water, and peanut butter. Surely they have like potatoes, maybe a carrot every now and then, bit of cauliflower, bit of carrot, cabbage.
Potatoes are not vegan.
Oh, aren't they?
Everyone knows that.
Oh, yeah, I see. But yeah, I mean, I think he's going for the pity thing now, right? Soon enough, it's going to be like a hunger strike, or something crazy like that. They'll be like, I just think that he seemed like a very manipulative guy, and with all the things that are coming out about the diary and faking the Google Docs thing, and obviously witness tampering. He's not this. He's not the. I don't know. Maybe the effective altruism was a bit of a guise. That I did read something like a thread from someone who kind of said that they were a bright eye, guy from I can't remember what university it was, what a US university that went to work for him, and told a story about how he met him when he was sat playing League of Legends, in the middle of the trading floor at Alameda, and that he seemed like he genuinely was into effective altruism and wanted to change the world and make medicine free and cure cancer and all these crazy things. And but he doesn't seem like that sort of guy. He seems like a bit of a facade. And now it seems like he's going down the kind of pity route, right? It does seem, he's kind of like, oh, feel sorry for me. I'm a vegan. I can't get any nutrition in here. There's just bread, water, and peanut butter, which actually doesn't actually sound too bad. I mean, I like all three of those, so it could be worse, right? It could be broth. Imagine, it could have been broth. But is it broth? They survive.
At least he has the water. If he just had the bread and the peanut butter, it'd be an eternal nightmare.
Exactly.
We also have a report that his transdermal patch used for treating depression, his supply is limited and dwindling. He also doesn't have access to the internet or a computer. Josh Shigala, Sam Bankman-Fried is describing the conditions inside of prison, and it's not pretty.
I remember once seeing this news piece. This was years ago. It was like, this living costs have gone up so much that this guy's resorting to eating PAL dog food for food. And I'm thinking to myself, hang on a minute, PAL dog food is like, I don't know, like $2.80 a can or something, and a carrot is like 10 cents. This guy's full of shit, because you can get much more nutrition just from other stuff. But anyway, yeah, look, it's the guy, look, if you're suffering from depression, try, eating some meat, maybe, like you need some, like, sorry. I was a vegan for a very long time. I was vegetarian. I've tried it all. And sometimes you just need some meat. I mean, if you're stuck, depression's horrible. It's a horrible, debilitating disease. And if you're suffering from it, you need to try other things, because you're going through hell, and prison's hellish enough. I can't imagine. But maybe think of all the people that suffered from you taking all their money, the people that have, killed themselves as well because they've lost everything that they worked so hard for, Sam, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have been so cavalier with everyone's money.
Josh Shigala suggesting the carnivore diet for SBF. Also, it is a great contrast, Josh, the period of now when SBF is actually in jail awaiting trial, still innocent before proven guilty, versus that other period where he kept doing all those insane interviews and it just never made any sense. And he kept incriminating himself, and you kept saying, how could his lawyers be allowing him to do this? And it seems like that lack of reality fog that he had, the last glimpse of effective altruism or whatever he was trying to push at the end, the part where Sam gets away scot-free, it doesn't seem like that's happening anymore.
No,
Ben and Ark, what do you think? Go ahead, Josh.
He was really delusional. He grew up so sheltered to not understand reality, that people actually go to prison, that doesn't just happen to hardcore, murderers or something, or, people in comic books. Yeah.
Well, it's very much like the Dropout movie about the woman that worked at Theranos, Elizabeth Holmes, and she had all these intentions. She wanted to be Steve Jobs, but she didn't want to actually make anything. It wasn't important that she succeed by making things. It was that she succeeded by selling things. And in the same way, Sam had this business that seems completely made up. The fact that they were just taking in deposits and just giving out deposits and they didn't have a track of it, it's just a fantasy land. Ben, what do you think about this topic?
Or
Peanut butter and bread?
Or poor people as well. Like, he's incredibly privileged, which is why he's now like, how am I in jail? I'm privileged. My family's part of the clique. I shouldn't be in prison. I kind of feel like it's okay for him to be a bit depressed, like he did rip off everyone's money, and he has, like Josh said, he's made a lot of people very depressed. So if he has to sit and have a dark moment in his cell and actually truly reflect upon what he's done, so be it, man. Like, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime, as they say. And when it comes to prison, US prisons aren't somewhere you particularly want to be, I don't think. But like Dan said, like peanut butter and toast, that's okay. I mean, he's not a particularly healthy looking dude anyway. So I can't imagine his diet was amazing before he went to prison. But now he's just got to face up to the reality of the situation he has put himself in by ripping off all those poor vulnerable people. And he should be a little bit depressed. That's fine.
It does seem, Ben, like he'll have increased access to sunshine, perhaps, and workout machines, other things that he might previously not have access to. And it's very tough to tell. The level of trolling on the internet is incredibly high, but it is possible that his mother could write a research paper about this. She was a scholar of effective altruism. She was trying to spread the word, perhaps through her son. And now, again, we see you can't put the cart before the horse, right? It's important to have a real business. We are already talking in that very bizarre Snapchat video where Sam still drives a Honda Civic and he has fuzzy hair and a t-shirt and he's getting ready to donate billions of dollars. It doesn't seem like his business was even ready to handle millions of dollars or thousands of dollars. This idea that, just as Mitch Hedberg said, like, okay, you're good at comedy, now can you act? Like, he should have just focused on running a business, not focused on being an effective altruism philosopher or whatever he was doing there.
Look, these people, like, honestly, it's like reverse racism is still racism. Trying to, and this is what this sort of philosophy that these people think. Effective altruism isn't stealing billions of dollars off of people and throwing it down the toilet. Like, what? You're doing the exact opposite. He's just a scumbag.
It's that privileged mindset that they know what best to do with the money.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I'll take this money away from these people. I'll do something better with it than they could possibly do.
Yeah,
it's the kind of attitude, right? Yeah, that part of the
and
I think a bit.
Well, according to the interview with CoffeeZilla, allegedly they were commingling funds from the beginning. They just didn't have a very good, like, basic business plan to even be worrying about things like effective altruism or giving $5 million to the father that the father is now using for the defense of the son. Well, at least they did that part. So we'll see. We'll see how the trial turns out. But for now, SBF has been denied his fancy vegan food. We're running out of time. Dan, Eve, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week? Go ahead. You're always first.
I'm always never ready as well. Okay. 600 billion. I think everything's blown out of the water with this 600 billion. I can't get it out of my head at the moment.
That's what it's like. It's an earworm. It gets in there. 600. What the fuck?
So I'm going to sacrifice my prediction of the story of the week because I just want to know a little bit more about this apparent Satoshi dude. So, like, what, and what? I have so many questions. How was he so certain? That it was him?
It happened in Riga. He's someone I work with, and I've worked with on some of the projects as well, and a very legit developer who met someone who he's blown away with. And he came up with the 600 billion thing, and my friend was like, 600 billion, what the fuck? Which is why the 600 billion collective is 600.WTF. But it's a brain worm. It like you say, it blows all of the predictions out of the water, and now every prediction just seems ridiculous. And yeah, 600 billion, what the fuck?
Well, I'm going to put my neck on the line, and I predict that Bitcoin will be 600 billion too in 7 million years, maybe. I don't know. No, hopefully not that long.
Oh, we definitely got to save up. That would be quite something. $600 billion. Josh Shigala, a prediction or a story of the week. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're finally launching the standard on Monday, which is very, very exciting. You'll be able to lock up wrapped Bitcoin. You'll be able to lock up Ethereum, and Pax Gold, and you'll be able to borrow at EuroS. We've had to change it from S Euro to EuroS because Synthetics already had S Euro. So, yeah, very, very exciting. It's been a long road, and come and check it out. We also have International DeFi Day coming up, and there's going to be a 10-hour live stream showcasing some of the best projects. We'll have Ben Ark there also showing off some Lightning Network for the L2 on Bitcoin. We've got Polygon showing L2 on Ethereum. I'm trying to, unite the crew here. Yeah, everything again. The real enemy is the central banks, and that we're all technologists trying to find cool technology. So check it out at youtube.com/all of that stuff. I've put it in the live chat. I'll put it in one more time by itself, so you can just copy paste it and hit notify. That's on the 8th of September. Yeah, it'll be really, really cool.
Very cool, Josh. Congratulations. Ben Ark, prediction or a story of the week. Go ahead.
Can we get a demo video of the standard.io on WCN on early next week?
Yeah. Yeah,
that'd be
that's
cool.
a great idea. I'd love to do that. Yeah.
There was a guy on Bitcoin Reddit, I think today or yesterday, and he'd accumulated like 7 Bitcoin over many years, over like 5 years, and he was gutted that he was gonna sell some because he wanted to buy with his wife, buy his his dream home. They were going to upscale their home, and he was going to have to sell like 2/3 of his stash. And he was like, is this? Am I betraying Bitcoin? Have my hands become weak buying a real world thing?
Yeah.
And when I saw that article, I thought of the standard.io, and I was like, this dude doesn't have. There's another option out there. He doesn't have to sell them bits.
That's it. That's really the dream, that you hold your private keys. You don't need to trust a third party. Yeah, the private keys are an Ethereum private key, so that is true. There's a little bit of but it's not as bad as having to trust BlockFi or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I
may add as well, back to our drive chain conversation earlier, that if BIP300 gets in, that drive chains and BIP300, they currently have the most up-to-date Ethereum forked onto a drive chain on their test implementation using Bitcoin testnet, and you can do all these funky, cool things on Bitcoin. So, and for you, as someone who's created this amazing product, in hopefully not too short a time, it could be something which could just be native on Bitcoin.
Oh, absolutely. It's, as soon as it's available on something that's good enough, we'll deploy it. The thing is, though, we have a few things we need to check, like our smart contracts talk to the Chainlink oracles, which check price feeds and stuff, because there needs to be liquidation events and all these sorts of things. But this technology will go to Bitcoin. It will, and I just can't wait for that time to happen. It'll be a Bitcoin side chain or a drive chain or these sorts of things, but it'll happen, and I just can't wait for that day. But until then, we're on L2 Ethereum, and we'll move forward. But yeah, screw that. 0% interest loans from now on in.
So sick. So my story of the week would be the Riga Honey Badger's coming up. I'm not sure how many of us are going, because I'm going to be there. I'm going to be doing a talk, and my friend who met Satoshi with the 600 billion collective and 600 billion price prediction happened in Riga. So if you, perhaps with a bit of luck, Satoshi might show up again, grace us with his presence. I'll be doing a talk, and the title of the talk is "Fuck Uncle Jim, Scaling Bitcoin." That's the price, the title of the talk. So very much looking forward to that, and I feel uniquely qualified, as you know, LNbits is obviously a something you can run as an Uncle Jim model, but I do kind of feel that like Lightning is amazing, and there's been a hell of a lot of development in it, but people have almost like given up the fundamentals of Lightning. Like if you look at the node implementations like Core Lightning, LND, and you look at the open PRs, which there's a whole bunch of really cool PRs, and the repos aren't even really being managed as well as they could be because there's just not enough energy and focus. And even managing a node, like what are your options? Like ride the Lightning, you know, is kind of a tricky piece of software. It's quite a big piece of software. There's not that many options for managing a node as well. So I'm going to be exploring where Lightning is now. It's great. And it's the solution, but we need a hell of a lot more energy being poured into actually developing Lightning as a base layer, because now people, and this is partly with the problem, lots of people like myself, we've got all excited about Lightning. We're building on top of Lightning without enough energy and focus actually on the Lightning fundamentals themselves. So yeah, fuck Uncle Jim. It's an asshole.
Nice.
Fuck him.
Well, that's great, but it's getting late. So shout out to Ryan for hosting me in Berlin. I was hoping to see all my friends here, but I don't know where everybody is. Seems like everybody left town. I'll have to see how that
Yeah.
goes. We'll see. I call you. You're not there. Everybody, give us a thumbs up down below. Thanks for sticking us on these Thursday night shows as I continue to travel and be busy on Fridays. So thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to subscribe down below. And until next time, bye.
Bye.